Salutations and welcome to the farm. It is my birthday week and today is actually my birthday, and my BFF has flown up from Tennessee to spend the day with me. And I told her when she was here, I said, you know, I love to do the recipes out of the old cookbooks. So I took out my cherished recipes from the Anza Thimble Chefs. This recipe book is from the community where we grew up and went to school, and where we met 46 years ago and became friends. So I handed this book to her on her first night here and I said, look through the book, find a recipe that fits my dietary restrictions. I know, it looks like I don't have dietary restrictions, huh? I eat anything and everything except for meat.
They're self-imposed.
Self-imposed restrictions. So I said, look through here, see if you see a recipe from somebody that we knew growing up, and we'll make it this week while you're here. Well, she happened to find a cake recipe, and the cake recipe is a raspberry nut cake, and it is by Mrs. Ruth Rasty. And Ruth Rasty is somebody that we both knew, we both cleaned house for, and she taught us home economics. So we're going to make her cake today. Usually I put the ingredients back here on the chalkboard, but today the chalkboard is prime real estate. My friend is in front of it. Don't go out of these, stay right where you are. So I will list the ingredients. They'll also be in the description box below. So here we go with a raspberry nut cake. We're going to bake this at 350 degrees. We're going to bake this in our turkey roaster today out in the summer kitchen, and it is already preheating. So we've got that started. We've got two little 6-inch adorable Wilton coffee cake pans. Those are already greased and floured and ready to go. So all we have to do is get our batter together. So what we have is we have 1 1/4 cups of sugar. That's gonna go in. And we have 1 cup of Crisco shortening. I got this on Pampered Chef. This is such a neat little thing to measure things. Just push it out. We're just gonna plop it right in.
Much easier than scraping it out, I must say.
We're still going to have a little bit to scrape off, but otherwise, that's good. The bowl, we're going to turn it on. And we're just going to cream this together. And I'll edit all this out while it's creaming. Okay.
Yum. I love sugar. I love butter and sugar.
I love butter and sugar, and this one says shortening, so we're going to go with shortening. And luckily I have Crisco in the pantry. It's part of my prepper stash in case we need to make candles out of it or something. Now we have 3 farm fresh eggs, so the recipe calls for those 3. We're going to add them one at a time. We're going to attempt to add them one at a time because I do have them already broken down into one dish. No, we're just going to try to plop them in one at a time. Here we go.
This is why she's doing it.
There's one.
I'm getting it all over.
Getting it all. This shows that the recipe book has been used and loved when it has spills in it. It's only good if the pages are stuck together.
How'd you do?
I've got one in. Let's put one more. There we go. Oh. Try not to get it on the cookbook this time. And let's put our 3rd egg in. We're just going to beat this well. Just beat it. Beat it. Wrap yourself an egg and eat it. So our eggs, our shortening, and our sugar have all been creamed together. And next on the list is we need to mix baking powder, baking soda, and flour. So in this bowl here, I have 2 cups of flour. And I have a little container here that has 1 1/2 teaspoons of baking powder and 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. We'll pop those in. So we have our dry ingredients in the bowl here. We're just going to incorporate them real well together. We're going to add it to our shortening mixture just a little bit at a time until it becomes well incorporated. Now what's neat and unique about this recipe is it tells us to put our dry ingredients in, and we're going to incorporate it, but we're going to alternate that with our buttermilk. We have 1 cup of buttermilk, so I'm going to put in a little bit of flour, then we'll put in a little bit of buttermilk. We'll go back and forth until it's all been added. I'm waiting for her to lick the edge of the little drip. She's into buttermilk. Weird stuff.
I'm the weird stuff.
She's into weird, she's into weird stuff.
I'm the good one.
She wants you to believe.
True.
Add a little bit more flour and hope it doesn't poof up in our face. I can't imagine Mrs. Racy doing this by hand, but you know she did.
Oh yeah. She was a lovely woman.
She was, and I think when we met her, she was at least in her 80s.
Yeah.
She was at least an octogenarian. She lived up there in Anza, and I believe she was one of the pioneering families for that area. As was Mrs. Lauritsen, Emily Carey Lauritsen. She actually came to Anza in a covered wagon in the 1800s.
And her and Ruth Racy were very good friends.
They were very good friends. I wouldn't be surprised if somewhere down the line, Emily said, "Ruth, that was my recipe, you stole it."
There's probably a couple in here that they fought over.
There probably is.
Emily and Ruth have most of the recipes in this book.
The farm fresh eggs, the yellow yolks, they're almost orange, really give this batter a pretty color. You'll see it in just a minute. Now, did you know if you don't have buttermilk at home, you can make your own buttermilk, and here's how. Take a cup of chilled milk. You can use any kind of milk you want, whether it is whole milk, skim milk, doesn't matter, and add 1 tablespoon of either white vinegar or lemon juice. Give it a good stir and let it sit for about 10 minutes, and you will see that it will thicken up like a good buttermilk. You can use that if you don't have buttermilk on hand. Let's take a second here and just scrape the edges of the bowl. Just make sure every little bit of goodness gets in there. Now, while this is finishing up, we're going to add some vanilla. So we need 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And my best friend and I, earlier in the day, we decanted my homemade vanilla extract. So we'll be using that in this cake today. So we've got that, and we need 1 teaspoon.
You can tell I'm not a cooker.
She's not a cooker, she says. Let's check our batter. It looks like lemon, which is going to look beautiful with the raspberries. And the only reason it looks like a lemon cake is because those farm fresh eggs made such a beautiful color in our batter. That beautiful batter. Okay, so now we need to fold in 1/2 cup of nuts and 2 cups of fresh raspberries. So we took some fresh pecans. Comment below, do you say pecans or pecans? If you say pecans, spell it with an A-W-N and tell us what part of the country you're from. If you say pecans, spell it with the C-A-N-S and comment below with what part of the country you're from. I say pecans. What do you say?
Pecans.
Pecans. Measured it by sight into my little chopping pro and ended up with 1/2 cup exactly. I'm going to put about half of it in. We're going to sprinkle in some of our fresh raspberries. We'll do this in 2 stages. And we don't want to break that down too much, so we're just going to gently fold it. So you just scoop and flop. Fold that in. Did you know how to fold by scoop and flop?
I did.
That's the technical.
I did, and I probably learned that from Mrs. Race.
Probably learned it from Mrs.
Because
Race.
my mother was a cake in the box kind of girl.
Nothing wrong with a good cake in the box every once in a while. But we're going to do Mrs. Race do justice today. And we're going to fold appropriately, baking this from scratch. Now we want to just fill our cake pans half full. That allows the batter to rise and make our cakes. We're gonna go put these in the turkey roaster and we'll show you what they look like when they're done. We're also gonna be using a recipe. I have another cookbook that I got last week at the thrift store, and that will be for a frosting, so stay tuned.